In this episode, I compact some gravel, we carry some wood in the dark, and finally, I use a hand stapler. Today's scripture reading comes from 2 Corinthians 5 verse 10. For we must all appear before the judgment seat of Christ, so that each of us may receive what is due for the things done while in the body, whether good or bad. In designing the deck and its construction, I used the deck planning software from Simpson Strong Tie. As this was my first deck build ever, the software was amazing. All you have to do is design your deck by inputting the dimensions and shape, and the result is a full material list and blueprint for everything you need. I'll put a link down in the description below. Go check it out. After I had marked where the post holes needed to go, I started digging. Sadly for myself, I did not rent any post hole digger. Figured I could do it by myself, all to save about $100. But boy, was that a bad decision in the 90 to 95 degree heat that we had, and high humidity. I used a combination of the shovel to loosen the dirt and the post hole digger to remove it from each hole. Now here in Southern Ontario, the depth for footings to avoid frost is 48 inches below grade, and so that's what I aimed for. Finished in the holes, I moved to cutting sonotubes to 3 feet long. This is where the 6x6 post will be mounted to. For the 6 holes, I used approximately 20 bags of concrete, adding water and mixing as necessary. You don't want to make it too watery, a more mud-like consistency is best. According to the blueprints, I needed 6 posts, as I was not using a ledger board to the house. Normally, a ledger board is used, but it can be done this way as well. I was not comfortable cutting the siding back and exposing the 2x4 walls on the older portion of our home. Filling them to the top of the sonotube and troweling the top flush. Except for this one. I left it longer for some reason. These were some hot days, so working into the night was the only relief. The next day, the concrete had set enough to anchor the plates that will house the 6x6 posts, using one 1/2 inch by 4 inch anchor for each plate. I honestly only did some rough measurements to find the alignment from one post to the next. These won't be visible when the deck is fully constructed. Afterwards I even checked this, and from my rough measurements I was fairly close, within a 1/2 inch front to back. Next I began cutting the 6x6 posts at the miter saw, cutting each one a few inches long just to get a short piece onto each footing. I came up with the final height of the deck by measuring at the door, going for a few inches below the opening. From here I set up the line laser to the height and went to each post to mark where the final cut was to be made. Before driving in all the screws to fasten the posts, I checked to make sure that all the posts were level to one another. After, used 3-inch coated screws, 8 per post to fasten them in place. Then I was able to start backfilling and leveling the area. Trying to place stones around the posts so that the posts are not in contact with the dirt. If they are, it will make them rot quicker, as they will be in constant contact with moisture. Last step before framing the deck, I laid down some landscaping fabric to prevent weeds from growing underneath, and then put down 1 to 2 inches of 0 to 3/4 inch stone on top. This will help for moisture control and allow water that makes it under there to drain better. Finally, get to start cutting some wood. The blueprint called for 3 beams, so that's what we will build first. Since these are going to be mounted on the 6x6 posts, we are going to laminate 3 2x10s together using 3-inch screws. A few of the boards did have a twist, nothing some clamps couldn't fix. Post with 3 2x10s on top is overkill. And you are probably right. 4x4 posts and 2 2x10s I think would have been strong enough. Within the deck planning software, you had the options on what material to choose. For about $100 more, I made the decision to just go with the beefier option, whether right or wrong. Using Simpson strong tie adjustable brackets to secure the beams to the post, referencing the wall of the house to get them as straight as possible, using more 3-inch screws to mount them. In all cut pieces that exposed the untreated inside, I used a product called Cut and Seal. It also matched the color of the pressure treated brown wood and resealed the cut. A fairly liquid consistency that absorbed very quickly into the wood and was dry to the touch and workable in minutes. The next day, I picked up more gravel to fill the area. Again, using 0 to 3/4 inch stone at 1 to 2 inches in depth, which was right to the bottom of the 2x10s. As I began framing the deck structure, most boards had cracks in them at either end. First, I'd cut about 2 inches off one end and then measure for the cut needed, using only the circular saw and a 6-inch square. Frame the outside rim joist first, along with one joist in the middle. I needed a way to access the backside of the rim joists that were up against the house. That's why I put the joist in the middle. That way it had a support and I could slide the whole structure over as much as needed. It was a bit awkward handling this by myself and could have been avoided, but this seemed to be the best solution in the moment. After squaring the frame back up, I marked the location for all the joists and added the joist hangers. Then brought in the joists and called it a night. The next day, I added blocking in 2 runs as per the blueprint, 1 run in between each set of beams. This will add the rigidity between the joists, and at the beams the joists won't need blocking as they will be secured with hurricane ties. For the blocking, I just took the measurement for each one at the end against the rim joists. This will not take into account any twists in the boards. Then went on to secure the joists at the beams with the hurricane ties. And to finish off part 1 of the deck, we decided to add mosquito netting under the deck boards, just in case we ever want to seal the deck in for the summer months when the mosquitoes are horrendous. Small cost to pay now, about $20 a roll. That'll wrap up part 1 of the deck build. Hope you enjoyed the video and learned something from the process. This was my first time ever building a deck. Spoke with some professionals and referred to the Simpson Strong Tie deck planner on the construction of the deck and materials needed. It really helped the process. It's free to use as well, and I'm not sponsored. Anyway, hope you enjoy, and God bless.